Machine spirits are part mechanical and part biological, the minds behind baneblades and void ships, and much more. A simple but essential technology in light of the imperiums' aversion to more advanced AI due to them rebelling in the past. But there is also more to machine spirits than a simple mind. They have a personality, they have loyalty, and can even make their own independent decisions. In this video we will go over a few examples of this and ask how this might tell us something from the cybernetic revolt. So welcome friends to another 40k video, and let's begin. From World Engine by Ben Counter. Sherez, Master of the Fleet, approaches the machine spirit to let it know the plan for facing the world engine of the Necrons. The ship is the battle barge Tempestus. The Maga Risa had forged the very first part of the Tempestus around the ancient cogitator that contained its machine spirit. Even before they had laid the first beams of the battle barge's keel, they had constructed a housing for the cogitator that dated back to the pre-imperial history of Mars itself. Such spirits were rare and irreplaceable, relics of the dark age of technology, where other such spirits had, legend had it, become a threat to the very species that had made them. Now only the wisest and most trustworthy had survived the purges of the Age of Strife and were numbered among the oldest relics of humankind, and this battle barge was a lethal one. Locked in the stacks of data medium was battle wisdom from wars that had vanished from the memory of mankind. Every move the ship's crew made was shadowed by the spirit, assisted or even ignored in the accordance with that wisdom. The master of the fleet had to treat with the spirit of the Tempestus as another member of the chapter, or they would find their helm commands ignored as the spirit made its own decisions. When they showed the ship the respect due to such an ancient warrior, they found in the Tempestus an ally as close as any battle brother. "If you can hear," said Sherez, "then I must speak with you. I have never done this before. Perhaps the master of the fleet who went before me did. I do not know, but I would not send a brother into battle from which I did not expect him to return without telling him to his face, and so I must tell you as well." The Tempestus did not reply. The machine spirit exercised its will in subtle ways. To respond directly would be beneath the ancient machine. The master of the fleet shows the machine spirit the battle plan. "Can we make it?" asked Sherez. The Tempestus met the outline of the world engine and vanished in a burst of information static. "Master of the fleet," came a voice from the chamber entrance. Sherez dismissed the hologram and turned to see librarian Hialhi walking between the data medium stalactites. And just a small correction in the audio here, the master of the fleet is not called Sherez, they are called Shehers. Back on with the text. "I was told you would be here, ministering to our ship." "I go to the source," said Shehers. "I command my ship from the helm, but on this occasion I decided to ask her opinion in person." "And what does she say?" "We should reach the world ship," said Shehers. "We have the speed, but there is no simulation that can say what will happen when we get there. As projected, the ship is able to penetrate the shields, and then finds itself falling." "There's nothing I can do," said Shehers quietly. The ship mistress and her crew could not hear him. "Chance alone will decide. I pray I have stacked our odds high enough, but the outcome is out of my hands." He paused. Perhaps a reply could come through the engines and the chiming of the bridge cogitators, or form from the static on the Voxnet. He waited. He did not hear it. "If there is anything you can do, Tempestus," he continued, "if you can still guide us, then the helm is yours. I cannot claim to be your master now, when I have put our survival at the whim of fate, and if either of us should not survive, it has been an honour." Perhaps the prow thrusters altered pitch a little. Perhaps the alarms going on every deck hit a higher or lower note for a moment, but Shehers could not make out any reply from the Tempestus. He didn't know even if the machine spirit was aware, in the way that a human mind was. Perhaps it was just a set of commands to be fired off when the sensors received the right information. His words probably meant nothing to it, but they had to be said. The ship goes through the atmosphere. The Marines are ready to get out and the ship will land in seconds. Only the machine spirit controls the helm. Thrusters correcting, gasped Geraltus. She was clinging to the tactical helm. A loose piece of equipment had struck her and blood ran down her face. We're coming down, ventral first. The Tempestus had turned herself so she would crash belly down instead of spearing into the world engine prow first. It was the best she could do in the circumstances. She had ratcheted up the chances of success a few % higher. Chance, that was all it was. It crashes. The Marines are sent out in drop pods, and the ship had been dealt a mortal blow by a world engine tower. With the spirit adjustment, the Astral Knights in the muster bays will be spared. The ship's thrusters were still firing, arresting her descent. She had slowed enough to make a collision potentially survivable. There was a chance. Not great, but it had existed. It has been an honour, said Shahers, and he felt the machine spirit slipping away from him, sinking into darkness. Goodbye. The relationship between the battle barge and the fleet master reminds me of other examples we have seen from the dark age of technology, where a more advanced AI is heartbroken its pilot has been killed and is mad with grief and rage. This has a simpler echo to it. That's one example, but not the only one. How about it doesn't just have to save its crew, but fight for them? From Baneblade by Guy Haley. The tank's hull vibrated underneath him, with the clangs and shouts of excited Orc crew rushing to and fro as they prepared to fire the cannon. You can stop that. How? Reach out, speak to the machine spirit, said the ghost. Calm it. Make it disobey its new masters. I cannot, said Brasslock. I have not the augmenters now, and I cannot pray. Have faith, tech priest. Faith will be enough. And Brasslock reached out. His mind was foggy, but its boundaries seemed less hard than they had been, as if his consciousness no longer stopped at the limits of his skull or intelligence cores. Away from himself, he felt a huge and powerful spirit, caged and enraged. The machine spirit of the Lux Imperator. It roared helplessly as rough orc hands twisted at the levers of its metal shell. Brasslock felt its pain and sorrow at the changes wrought upon it. Softly, Brasslock reached out, chanting the litanies of calming in his mind, soothing the beast within the machine. He encircled it with his prayers. It calmed. He felt the capacitors as a reservoir of light. He touched them, felt a presence still guiding him as he bade them to vent their energy through the hull of the tank. Like waters through a ruptured dam, 4 terawatts of caged electricity leapt joyously through the skin of Lux Imperator. Orcs howled as they cooked, and Brasslock felt the spirit of the tank sigh with release. All noise within ceased. He himself was untouched. There, said the stranger. I must go to my rest now, Engine Seer Adept Brasslock, but I am sad to say you must remain. The Emperor has uses for you yet. The ghostly young officer began to fade away. For me, tell my friend Bannock he's right to pray. He always was. Brasslock gasped, sank out of this world. Lux Imperator was still, so you can see how they do have a certain intelligence, something like a loyal dog, but in the body of a tank or void ship. Now I will make no claim the Tempestus or the tank was an AI. However, we do know they were loyal AI around during the time of the cybernetic revolt that aided humanity, that didn't turn its back on them. It was humanity unturned on both loyal and, we'll call them heretic AI in the end, and eliminated both as best they could. Now think about that moment. When you're eliminating both loyal and heretic AI, you would have needed something to maintain, say, control of the ship, for example, and other technology that would have been tied into AI at that moment. Perhaps this is one of those solutions, a simpler version of the more complex abominable intelligence, something they kept around. So let me know what you think to this insight on the machine spirits with a comment, and if you like this video on 40k, then why not try this one? And if you want to listen to a long playlist, I've got a 40k one, though the audio quality is pretty variable over the length of the mics I've used whilst I was recording.